everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Mindy. I'm a homeschooling mom of 4 kids. Today, we're going to talk about math. Our math journey has been pretty interesting, to say the least. We started homeschooling when my son began 5th grade using a curriculum. Our math journey has been kind of crazy. It's been exciting. It's been frustrating. There have been moments of joy, moments of happiness, moments of laughter, but then there's also been moments of tears and frustration. Can you relate? Let's talk about our math journey today and where we are, where we've come from, and where we're hopefully going. So for 5th grade, my son did Epsilon, and he did very well with this program. Now, what I loved about Math UC, it's called Math UC because you are using manipulatives. So this fraction overlay kit was really awesome for us when we were doing Epsilon. So you would take these little things here. Let me see. So for instance, this shows thirds, and it has all these different color blocks that you could use. So you could use different colors if you want to. These are called fraction overlays, so you could use these to add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions. And this was definitely by far our favorite manipulative that we used when we were doing fractions with Epsilon. So you open it up, and on this side you have halves and thirds. Here is fourths and fifths, and then sixths. So because my son Ethan did so well with Math UC's Epsilon in 5th grade, for 6th grade, we moved on to Zeta. And Zeta's big focus was decimals and percents. So it built off from last year's fractions and then moved on to decimals and percents. Because Ethan did so well with Math UC 5th grade, 6th grade, we moved on to pre-algebra in 7th grade. And here's where we started to struggle. Our 7th grade year, my son and our family, because we're a family of 6, we kept getting sick. So it was one sickness after another, and this went on every single month. So needless to say, pre-algebra, our 7th grade year, it wasn't consistent enough. We were doing math our 7th grade year, but because it wasn't consistent, because we had to take lots of breaks and pause a lot for it, my son really didn't grasp the concepts fully in pre-algebra before we were to move on to Algebra 1. I bought Algebra 1 in hopes that we would still be able to do this program. We have absolutely had such a great experience with Math UC, and I've met Steve Demi in person at least twice now at different homeschool conventions that we've gone to, and he is a great person. He is a great teacher. So I love the program. Now, with that being said, it didn't work for my son because the math just wasn't consistent enough for him. And I did not feel comfortable moving on to Algebra 1 when he had not yet mastered the concepts in pre-algebra in order to be able to do this. We started doing this and it did not work out for him at all. He was getting frustrated and I was feeling like, what do we do? In this video right here, I do go a little bit more in depth about why we switched from Math UC to a different program. The curriculum that I ended up getting, I mean, I wouldn't even really call it a curriculum. It's more so like a supplemental tool. You absolutely could use it as a curriculum, but guess what? That didn't work for us either. And it was this, the Critical Thinking Company. It's geared toward 6th through 8th graders, understanding pre-algebra. And so I did do a flip through of this. And so you can check out that video right here that I just mentioned, but made it through the first 2 chapters and then my son started having trouble again. The Critical Thinking Company does have an answer key in the back of the book, but the trouble with that is it doesn't go in depth enough to tell you the process of how they are getting to the answer. So my son was getting frustrated because he couldn't quite put the process of his thinking down on paper and he kept getting the wrong answer. I myself was unsure of how to do the process in the first place. I was having to go to their website every single time to get a more detailed version of what the answer might be and then print out this huge, wasting tons of paper and ink and things like that just to get the answer. It was not working for him. I also did pick up these resources here which are great. I mean, they're great resources, but they're really not going super duper in depth. This is more like a reference tool for us. This is not like a curriculum. It's not teaching him how to do it. And then I also have this one here, but again, this is a reference tool. It is not a curriculum. So with that being said, I went searching again and I found a different program that we have absolutely been loving, that has absolutely been working for him. So after the critical thinking company did not work for us and those 2 reference books, I found this Dennison algebra. And so this is the student textbook. Now, Mr. Dennison teaches the lessons and it is wonderful. And so far we have gotten through, and actually my son is almost done with chapter 5. Then we're going to be moving into those algebra concepts that you can see here. And then this is what? Various and sundry. Wow. Okay. That is ratio, proportions, percent, geometry, and then probability and statistics down here. So this is where we're at. Almost done with this. He's going to take the test for this next week. Then we're going to be moving back into those algebra concepts. So there is a video component to where Mr. Dennison is teaching the entire thing. There have yet to be any issues where my son has needed any help from me. The only time he ever needed help was with his scientific calculator, and that was a very easy thing to figure out. So this Dennison Math comes with the student textbook, and then it has the solutions manual. And what's nice about the solutions manual is that the kids are checking their own work. I really don't need to check their own work. They're checking their own work immediately after they do the assignment. And then it didn't come with this binder. This is my binder, but it has the parent guide and the student booklet telling all about the program. And then the tests are also included in here, and you can see you have like recording sheets for the test and the assignments to get a grade if you want to give your child a grade in this. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that we play a ton of games that help reinforce math concepts. And I'm going to be doing a whole other video about the games that we play specifically for math concepts. So be on the lookout for that video. So I'm not necessarily relying on one curriculum to teach my children everything that they need to know, because honestly, there is no perfect curriculum out there. Every child learns differently. And so we use math games every week with our whole family, and a lot of the games that we have can be adapted for different grade levels. So this video is mostly focused on my current 8th graders journey, starting from the very beginning, from when we started homeschooling. I do also want to mention that I do have a pre-K student and a 1st grade student. With my 1st grader, we have been using for kindergarten and 1st grade the Good and the Beautiful's math curriculum, and that has been phenomenal for her. Also, we play tons of math games with her and my pre-K student. My pre-K student is a little bit different. We are using the Good and the Beautiful's preschool program. There's really not a lot of math involved in that. I do have something for her that I'll show you very quickly. So when my current 1st grader was in pre-K, I did use this from the Critical Thinking Company, and we used this and we did basically the whole entire book. But with my current pre-K student, who just turned 5, we barely ever do this book because she is a different type of child and she cannot sit still long enough to actually work through this book. We've done a handful of things in this book, but it is really like hit or miss with her. She does not want to sit down and do workbook type things. She is more of a hands-on learner, which is why we do a ton of board games with her instead, and a lot of movement activities like counting, skip counting, identifying shapes, and things like that. Well, I think that about wraps it up. My plan moving forward, my 8th grader moving into the high school years, I plan to continue using Dennison algebra. He loves it. It is working for him, and I pray that it continues to work for him as he is moving throughout those high school years. Also, with my pre-K student and my 1st grade student, I do plan to continue using the Good and the Beautiful's math curriculum because that is working for them, and why fix something that isn't broke, right? Have you heard that before? So anyway, I hope that you tune in for my video, my upcoming video about our math games that we use in our homeschool, and then also I'm going to be doing a review on Dennison's pre-algebra when we are pretty much finished with this curriculum, and I'll tell you how that ended up going for us. So I hope you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you around.